Hey guys, halfclickup here, back with another FZ6R mod video. Now today's video is not going to be an actual installation tutorial. Today's actually going to be more of an installation overview. And what we're going to be discussing today is the Woodcraft clip-on kit for the Yamaha FZ6R. So one of the first major modifications I made on my FZ6R was the Woodcraft clip-ons. I've been running these clip-ons for somewhere around 4 years now, and it is the mod that I get asked about most often. Everything from emails to DMs to comments in my YouTube videos. I get a lot of questions from folks who I guess they don't really understand what all is involved with installing the Woodcraft clip-on kit. There's really not a whole lot to it, guys. It's a fairly simple procedure, and while I'm not going to disassemble my Woodcraft kit, I will go kind of over an installation overview, so to speak, and show you guys around the clip-ons how they're installed. We'll talk about what is involved with installing the kit, and hopefully answer most of the questions that you guys have. Now, generally speaking, there seems to be a misconception when we talk about the fact that the motorcycle is lowered installing the Woodcraft clip-on kit. And I try to explain to folks that it's not necessarily that you're lowering the motorcycle, it's that the forks maintain their same stationary position. However, the motorcycle is lowered around the forks, thereby lowering the bike a total of like 1.5 inches. And it's no coincidence that this is a 1.5 inch rise, okay? So the Woodcraft kit you guys want is for a 41 millimeter fork, all right? That references the clamp size. These clamps specifically in this kit will clamp around 41 millimeter forks. You also want the 1.5 inch rise. Okay, this rise you see here is what allows your controls to actually clear your fairing trim. You see, that's why you have to get the 1.5 inch rise. The basic installation is this. So, you know, with your factory FZ6R, installed here where these caps are now located is where your tree is, right? Your top tree extends up to like right here on both sides, and then you have the standard bar that runs across and is clamped to those trees. Long story short, and the simplest way of explaining it, you simply remove the clamps, remove the bar, that goes away, right? You don't even use that anymore. You loosen the top of the tree, and I'll give you guys a better shot here in a second. You loosen the top of the tree on both sides, down in there, very gently and slowly. You take your time on this, otherwise the bike will drop too far and you have to struggle to get it back up. Of course, it also helps to have two hands. It also helps to have a helping hand, right? If you got a buddy, it'll go a lot easier. Now, on that topic of the lowering process, I want you guys to try and use your imagination. Or, you know, if you have an FZ6R, you can just kind of picture this in your head based on what you're already working with. These end caps here, right, the fork caps, if you don't have a clip-on kit installed on your FZ6R, then these caps are actually flush with the tree, okay? So when you loosen those two bolts, one on each side, one on each fork, literally, when you loosen those two bolts, what it does is it allows the forks, it allows the bike itself to slide down the forks 1.5 inches. Now again, it'll go farther than that if you're not careful. That's why you have to take your time, do them one at a time. You're wiggling the fork to get it to slide through more so than forcing it, right? You let gravity do the work. You just kind of wiggle it, let gravity do the work, and slowly drop the bike down. And what you're going to do is you're going to keep dropping it, or you're going to keep making slight adjustments, and then you're going to take these clamps and you're going to keep setting them around as if they're in bolting position, right? And you're going to keep making those fine-tune adjustments until your caps sit flush with the clamp. And that's all there is to it, man. That is the lowering action, right? The lowering action of installing this kit. And again, you got to be careful, because if you let it drop too far, your caps will end up sticking up out of the clamps, and it'll probably just look kind of weird. Not to mention, the bike will probably end up dropping a little bit too low. Now I have a flashlight here, because I want to try and get you guys the best view possible on what I'm talking about. Alright, so again, let's recap. You remove the top clamps, you get rid of the factory bar. That's gone, right? All you're left with is a naked top tree, and your fork caps are flush, and you essentially have no place to mount the clip-ons, right? Because everything is flush. It's like there's literally no place to mount your bars. Okay, so you get down in here, and I mean, I took fairings off and everything, right? Obviously, you're gonna have to get your bike a little naked, right? Get her out of her clothes so you can properly get to this stuff. But see if the zoom will work fine. There's one of your bolts. It's a hex head, right? It's a big hex head. I'm sorry, I don't know off the top of my head what size it is, but you want to loosen that, and then you'll come around on this side. Same thing, guys. You will loosen that one. See it? Okay, so now once you have these things loosened, you'll want to, now again, remember your fairings are out of the way, right? I took it down completely, guys, to where I can just reach right here and grab the fork with an entire hand, right? So all this will be out of your way, and you're going to twist back and forth, and then come to this one and twist back and forth, and you're going to come back and forth and keep doing that. And what you're going to notice, all of a sudden your fork cap is going to start being exposed. It's not going to be flush anymore. It's going to start popping up. You want to keep doing that, going back and forth, wiggling slowly back and forth. That's why you can't loosen these bolts too much, because if you loosen them too much, everything's going to just happen too quickly, right? So you loosen them just enough to where you can wiggle these forks and get them to slide up and through. So you want to take your clamps and just mock them up, right? These bolts will not be in here. The bar will not be in here, right? The kit comes with, it's a 2-piece clamp. So you're going to take your 2-piece clamp and mock it up around the fork. And once you're happy with that cap sitting flush, that's when you're done. You get back down there, you tighten the hell out of that thing, both bolts, as soon as you get both of them the way you want them, and then you can twist the clip-on back and forth, right? However it suits you. Now, let me have a seat here. I am happy with what you see here. This is like a classic super sport layout, right? They're not too far out, and they're not too far in. Let me put this down. Oh, I mean, this is what I consider the ideal layout, okay? Now you'll see what I used as a guide for determining this angle is I lined the clamp up with the angle of the tree. Can you see that? Does that make sense? See how everything is just lined up flush right there? Now if you swing this way and look, you'll see what I'm talking about. See how the bolts are just lined up flush with that angle of the tree? Okay, so that's how I determined that. That's another common question. Guys don't understand, well, they can go any which way. Well, that's just the guideline I used. I just lined that up nice and flush. Now you see I also utilized the factory grips. Factory throttle tube, right? That's all factory. I literally carried all of the controls over from the factory bar and bolted them to the clip-on bars accordingly. Now, here's a trick. You'll notice that when you unclamp all this stuff, all these controls, you unclamp them from your factory bar, you'll notice that there's little nipples on the inside of the clamshells that actually fit into a hole that's in your factory bar. All you simply do is grab your tape measure, measure twice, cut once, right? And you are going to measure the distance from the end of the factory bar to that hole, which is literally this here, right, on your factory bar. And then you're gonna mock that up to this clip-on bar, and just take a Sharpie or whatever and mark exactly where that hole is supposed to be. And put your bar in a vise or whatever. I put mine in a table vise, wrapped in a towel so I wouldn't mar it all up, right? And you just clamp down, get it good and tight where it's not gonna move anywhere. Get you a good drill, take your time, and just zip right through it. And that's how you get your control swapped over properly, right? Some people just shave those nipples off. Man, don't do that, because then you have to rely on having to tighten these clamps mechanisms too tightly, and when you have to tighten them too tightly, it's plastic, right, guys? So things break. So you wanna actually utilize the nipple mechanism. Go ahead and drill your holes and mount this stuff up properly. Now, when it comes to actually mounting the clip-on clamps, all right, we're kind of going in reverse now. Backing up to a previous little topic here, these clamps, these bolts here, you want to use Loctite. You don't want to really use red Loctite, right? That's bad. You'll never get the damn things back off of there. I recommend blue. I actually used purple. It seems to be some sort of intermediate adhesion quality, so I used purple Loctite on 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, all 8 of them. Now look, guys, the final piece of the puzzle. When you get done installing this kit, let me get down on the ground here. That right there is your horn. See this clamp here? I'm sorry, this bracket? From the factory, this bracket runs straight parallel in line with the bottom, this little lip on this bracket. So it's actually moved down, right? If you leave that in its farthest position straight level with this bottom piece here, this bottom lip on this bracket, what's going to happen is you're going to bottom out. Remember, you're nearly 2 inches lower in the front now, and so if you go over the wrong bumps, you will bottom out and your horn is going to crack your fender. You want to avoid that. So again, the final piece of the puzzle, you loosen this silly little bolt here. It's super simple, it takes 30 seconds. Loosen that bolt, move the entire horn up pretty far. I mean, you see I actually moved it basically as far as it'll go. Move it until it won't go up anymore, man. Then tighten that bolt back down, call it done. So the only thing I can think of that I didn't actually cover is that bright silver chrome stem cap. You see I use a ram mount, and you can't use the standard Super Sport stem style ram mount where it's a stem that goes down inside there and it tightens up. And the reason why is because with this style tree, the chrome cap is actually torqued to spec, and it actually holds your steering bearing there all tight and together. So if you don't put something back on there, you're gonna have a bad time. This piece here is actually, it's aluminum. It's kind of marred up because I've removed it and put it back on a couple of times, just doing different things. But I will put a link down to this piece below. It's provided by a company out of the UK. Very high quality piece. I've only had to buy one, and it's been on the bike ever since I installed the clip-ons, because I went straight away to rocking a ram mount. I'll put a link to this down in the description so you guys can order one for yourselves. The last time I checked, they were up to 40 bucks. When I ordered it, it was 30 bucks, but again, that was like 4 years ago. So anyways, yeah, that's how I run a ram mount on the center. That's the secret. It's all about that ball mount. Again, link in the description to get yourself one of these. Oh, one last thing. As far as the cables being pulled too taut, you can see they are really tight. They don't wiggle very much at all. However, it's fine. They don't actually sit under any kind of crazy stress or anything. You have full movement back and forth. No worries, right? So your cable layout from the factory will work just fine with the Woodcraft kit. Anyways, guys, I guess that's really all I've got. I think I covered all the bases for what all is required to install the Woodcraft clip-on kit on your Yamaha FZ6R. It's a very necessary mod, along with ninja mirrors, by the way. Very necessary mod. You cannot beat the looks, right, the aesthetics, and the increase in cornering control than you can by putting on the Woodcraft kit. So anyways, guys, hopefully I answered all your questions. If you have any more questions, obviously just drop a comment down below. I'll answer them accordingly to the best of my knowledge. I mean, I've been running this kit for years now, and it has it's performed flawlessly. Just use Loctite, right? So anyways, I hope this helps. This has been an installation overview of the Woodcraft clip-on kit for the Yamaha FZ6R. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace and goodbye.